Okay, so I think we have nearly everyone in at this stage. So I suppose good morning to everyone and welcome to this event, which is in the form of a panel discussion. My name is Eva Lavin and I'm Head of Education in LIA. I suppose just in terms of what we will be covering today. So I'll be giving you a quick overview of LIA's Postgraduate Diploma in Financial Planning programme, which is a gateway qualification for those who wish to obtain the prestigious and internationally recognised Certified Financial Planner or CFP designation. And I'm delighted to be joined by our panelists today, Emer Kirk, who is CEO of FPSB Ireland and lecturer on the Postgraduate Diploma programme. She will be hosting the discussion with two very well-respected CFP professionals, Mark Hedderman, who is CEO of Hedderman Financial Services, and Michael Wall, Director in Lifetime Financial Planning. Both have been through the programme, so you'll be hearing from them about their experience of their journey to CFP, how it has benefited their career, and how the industry has evolved and changed over the last 10 years, and why I suppose the postgraduate diploma programme is something that you should be thinking about. I would encourage you all to use the Q&A box at the bottom of the screen if you have any questions for myself or the panelists as we go through this discussion, and we will set some time aside at the end to answer these questions. So I suppose just to give you some background, really, the postgraduate diploma programme itself will start in September, with the first lectures commencing the week of the 5th of September. On screen, you'll be able to see the structure of the programme. So those that complete the programme will also gain designations en route to completing it, including the SIA Specialist Investment Advisor designation, which is given to those who successfully complete the investment management module, and the RPA Retirement Planning Advisor designation, which is given to those upon completion of the retirement planning module. The programme itself is very flexible. So I suppose in terms of the modules, they can be completed in any order, with the exception of Module 6, the Integrated Personal Financial Planning module, which must be completed last, as this is the capstone module. But I suppose if you're nervous about committing to the full programme, you might be interested in completing the Investment Management or Retirement Planning module to give you an insight into the programme while also obtaining a designation. The programme itself is delivered online through evening lectures. So the lectures and the exams are both online, which means I suppose there's no geographical barrier for anyone who might be interested in the programme. The lecturers themselves, I suppose, really set this programme apart in terms of the calibre and the experience that they bring. And I'm sure, I suppose, there'll be a few recognisable names on screen. And between them, they bring a wealth of industry and practitioner experience to each of the modules. I just want to, I suppose, highlight as well that the professional CFP designation is separate to the postgraduate diploma, as some people might confuse the two. In order to become a CFP professional, you must meet the education requirements, which is where the postgraduate diploma comes in, as this is the underpinning education element that meets the criteria of those who wish to go on and get the CFP designation. So those that complete the postgraduate diploma will then be invited to sit an independent professional CFP exam, which is run by the Financial Planning Standards Board. And I suppose as well, just to note that while for the majority of people, their end goal is to become a CFP professional, for others, this might not be the case. But the postgraduate diploma itself is a valuable programme to complete, I suppose, due just even to the nature of the content that is covered. And each module is very relevant for those working in administration roles who may want to get a better insight into what advisors know and what clients are looking for. So I hope that just kind of gives you a brief overview of our programme, and we'll be providing a little bit more information at the end as to how you can get in touch with us if you'd like further information. But for now, I'm going to hand you over to Emer Kirk, who is going to be chatting with our two CFP professionals, Mark Hedderman and Michael Wall. So thanks, Emer.
Thanks, Eva, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. And just picking up on some of Eva's points there, you know, one of the things that the postgrad does very successfully is not only to provide a huge body of knowledge on the main components of financial planning, you know, which are covered off in those course modules, but it really highlights the integration and the interdependencies among these components. So as well as developing your skills to analyse and synthesize the information to formulate strategies. And that's really what distinguishes financial planning from other forms of financial advice. And it's this level of professional quality advice that clients are looking for. We see significant growth in the market for financial planning in the coming years. We've got a significant body, a significant number of baby boomers are going to be inheriting wealth with strong property asset values. We're having to become more responsible for our own financial security in retirement. And many people are facing really difficult choices. Do they help their kids get on the property ladder? Do they help parents with nursing home costs, or do they help themselves? So the need for financial planning has never been greater. And this will lead to increased demand for suitably qualified professionals in this area. So, while Eva's given a brief overview of the education programme, I'm now going to bring in Michael and Mark just to ask them about their own experiences on the front line. So Michael, you're very welcome. I'll start with you if you don't mind. Can you just talk to us about what made you decide to undertake the postgraduate diploma and pursue the CFP qualification?
Well, thanks, Emer, for that, and good morning to everybody on the panel here today and everybody who's listening in. It's a really good question, and I was reflecting on this over the last couple of days, and I was able to find in my head a defined sequence of events. So I moved into the practice here, which is a family practice. It was an old brokerage, quite a small one at the time, back in 2015. And when I moved in, I was kind of looking around for ways to sort of push the business forward in order to provide me with a stable career for the next, couple of decades and on ahead. I saw the need to sort of reposition the business differently. And I also saw the need, as you mentioned there, in terms of financial planning and wealth management going forward. I saw that growing simply from the questions that we were getting from clients and the contacts we were making with individual clients and potential clients down the line as well. We had been providing an advisory service at the time, but it wasn't structured. And I wanted to try and direct the business in such a way that we had a structured way to speak to clients about, managing their wealth going forward. And the only way I could see doing that is through a financial planning qualification. And when I looked out there, the CFP designation is the gold standard from my point of view. It's a very, very well structured course. It incorporates all the modules that you need to speak to people about the types of questions we were getting. And that was, once I had all that information in my head, then that was a simple business decision then to invest in the course. Yeah.
Okay, thanks, Michael. And Mark, you're one of the original pioneers of the CFP designation. You were one of the first to take the plunge in 2009 with the education programs. Can you just tell us about what made you decide to undertake the program?
Of course, Emer, I'll have to jump in. You've aged me very slightly there. I was still in college at the time. That was actually my father, Morris, who was one of the originators.
Sorry, Mark.
I have a bit of grey coming into the beard now, but I'm a little bit further behind. And to be fair, but it's very apt because I was reflecting on what Michael spoke about there, and we're also a family practice. And Morris, who was the managing director up until last year, was one of the originators or one of the originals to the course. And what we saw, I suppose, in my introduction into the business in 2011 was probably at that stage, it was still in a broker stage whereby we'd a very substantial client bank, but we had very, very much difficulty of being on the forefront in terms of the delivering of a holistic financial planning process. So albeit Morris may have had the qualifications, we were so swamped in respect of queries and whatnot that we couldn't get out there and begin to apply it. And I felt there was a natural correlation for me then on the basis of undertaking the ongoing management of the practice and obviously being front facing with clients to be able to provide them with as much as possible. We always wanted to expand on our conversations with clients rather than being led by their needs. But we felt a difficulty in doing so because we just didn't quite have that education piece. And I felt that the CFP effectively allowed us to almost take control of the narrative within meetings and to be able to stand our own 2 feet with clients and effectively bring in tax logic, bring in the estate planning logic, bring in really, really highly concentrated retirement planning logic. And all of a sudden, we felt a lot of clients were then able to sit back. And we actually noticed there was nearly a relief with clients to say, okay, these guys know the direction of travel for me. The most important part is, are they qualified to talk to me about this bit? And I find there's a difficulty in our business with imposter syndrome, whereby we don't want to tread out into deeper waters. And I felt that the CFP course allowed us to go push a little bit further. The dynamic of the relationship we have with our clients has changed monumentally since I've undertaken. I'm delighted to say that Luke, my youngest brother, has just achieved the CFP in recent months. So for a relatively small firm or a medium-sized firm to have 3 CFPs in the office with the intention that our other advisors progress is really, really positive.
Yeah, certainly, Mark. And you know, the financial planning landscape has changed quite significantly over the last 10 years, and it continues to evolve. So, you know, how has the qualification in practical terms enabled you to adapt to these changes?
Well, from the standpoint of our business, I suppose we might have been very tunnel visioned into this idea of, okay, we provide life assurance and we provide pensions and we provide investments. And I feel that for the first time, by going through the course, we were in a position where we could really expand upon these ideas. And Morris is always a great proponent of this concept of holistic financial advice, where rather than being led by needs, we stand back and we do an overarching report and see, well, where does somebody stand? And are there threats or are there opportunities available to them that they haven't yet seen? So in fairness, what I actually found remarkable about going through the course was my progression as a financial planner increasing nearly on a week-by-week basis based on the content of the lectures. We were then, obviously, the beauty, and most people may have gone to college or they've done whatever else, but this is the first time you'll actively be able to take a qualification that you're actively working on and apply it on your day-to-day job. Mm-hmm. So the satisfaction even and the delivery of your advice is actually, you can notice those 1% incremental increases week on week based on the quality of the lectures, the peers who you're operating with, and also, to be fair, the quality of the lecturers, who are mostly have had backgrounds who you can go and speak to on a one-to-one basis, and they can very much have an open conversation. So we noticed a huge divergence from where we would have been to maybe where we are today. And the remarkable thing is the client outcomes are so much better as a result.
Okay, and Michael, can you give us your thoughts on that as well?
Absolutely. I you know, what Mark's just said there, I you know, resonates really well with me. I remember coming back, we used to have the lectures in Dublin, so I traveled up to Dublin, come back in the morning, come in about between 7 and 7:30, and we'd have a discussion at that time in the morning about the lecture from the night before and how we could implement it, you know, whatever the discussion topic was, into the business. And we would have that implemented by the end of the week in a process or as part of our conversation with clients. We have checklists for lots of different things, and we would certainly incorporate it. But in relation to, going back to the original question, in relation to, you know, the landscape changing over the last decade, Emer, you mentioned there earlier on that, you know, the baby boomers, etc., the wealth, this is, I think Kevin McConnell actually quoted this is the first year that serious wealth is going to be transferred onto you know, the next generation, and all of that has to be managed in a tax efficient manner. And if you don't have an appreciation across the pillars, across the whole holistic picture, across the whole frame, in terms of your investment strategy, in terms of your taxation strategy, in terms of the risk management, in terms of the you know, the retirement planning end of it, and the complexities, you know, attributed to all of those individual bits and pieces, if you don't have that appreciation, you're in no shape to be having conversations with clients about how to manage their wealth going forward. So it's absolutely crucial that having those pillars there allows us then to be able to have those meaningful conversations with clients on a regular basis. And not only that, because of the CFP network and the structure that's there in terms of the CPD programs, we're kept appraised and up to date on a you know, monthly basis, on a regular basis. The LIA also provides a huge amount of information as well that allows us to keep you know, abreast of all the situation. For example, the impact of the current IORPS 2 directive and what's happening on the EPP market at the moment is highly relevant. So we're able to have those conversations because we're educated under those pillars and structured modules during the course that I mentioned earlier on.
Great, thanks, Michael. And I suppose there'll be some people on the call here who are considering the course and maybe are on the fence about it. can you tell us a little bit about your experience through the eyes of a student? You know, it is a big time commitment, and how you made it work in terms of family, work, study, and balance that. Mark, maybe you might give us your
happy
thoughts.
to do so. Yeah, it was a remarkable undertaking at the time. I started the course in 2016, and my first son was born at the time. And at that stage, I was traveling to Port for the full day on a Monday. And I think it's fantastic to see that the course for now is all online. I think that's really opened up, and even as somebody referenced me, the courses are now all recorded, which I think is fantastic, because there was many a session where after not very much night's sleep I could have done but watching back the recording. So I think that's brilliant. Yeah. The experience itself was really fantastic, because as I said, we have a family practice. At the time, I think we had 8 in the team. It's very, very small, and you sometimes get very worried about things like tunnel vision in respect of your approach to your financial advice. So I thought the great thing was the networking piece, working alongside a number of students who are all effectively trying to achieve the same outcomes, which is obviously better results for our clients. And I thought it was lovely working in a peer group like that, whereby most days we could come in and over a cup of coffee in the morning, have a chat before we started the lectures. And then we were all on the same wavelength that the value being delivered in the lectures was ultimately being brought back to our practices, or whether we're in a larger institution day by day. So I thought from that point of view, yes, it's always really positive to learn. And it's something we try and embrace in our practice, this concept of lifelong learning. It's really, really positive when that actual learning is then is a deliverable in respect to the type of advice you're giving. So the lectures, whilst now being online, I think is much more flexible for people. We had a little bit of difficulty initially in terms of the travel to Port, and obviously what you're then trying to do is get back to the office and squeeze a couple of hours in the evening. So the way this is now structured with the evening lectures, all done online, I think is probably going to make it, for the next crop of students coming through, should make their lives much, much easier.
Okay, and Michael, how did you find balancing the study with life?
Yeah, it's so again, I'm a proponent of lifelong learning, and will be and continue to pass that information on to my children as well. It's really important. Education is the route out, etc. Look, it's a commitment. It's a heavy commitment. The material that you're going to be covering in the course is heavy going. It's legislation. It's based on case studies. It's really interesting because it's delivered by practitioners who've actually encountered the problems, as opposed to people who haven't necessarily encountered the individual problems in front of clients, and the solutions, etc., that are all provided are very, very a practical based solution, if you like, which can be implemented to your own client base as well. I think once you decide that you're going to do the course, understand that you're making an investment in your career that will lead to a future outcome. So remember that future value of yourself later on down the line. It's really important to understand that, but you invest the time now. I think if you get buy-in from your employer, really important to get that, because there is a heavy time commitment there. And also get buy-in if you have a family, get buy-in from your family to explain to them that it's going to be a time commitment. Weekends are going to be compromised. Nights out are going to be compromised. You're just going to have to roll up the sleeves and get through it in order to competently pass the exams in good stead, and so on and so forth. The other thing I'd say is, as well as, and Mark alluded to this earlier on, is use your network. You're going to be in a situation whereby every other individual on that course is like-minded to you and wants to achieve the same outcome. And so what I found, from personally, from my point of view, is the buddying up with people who are sort of similar age and similar backgrounds and things like that, or maybe completely diverse backgrounds. That's even better, because you got different independent thought there as well. Is fantastic, and you do develop friendships that last, later on after you've qualified and graduated, and so on and so forth, and you're in practice, which is fantastic. And it's always great to sort of be able to dip into their experience and various scenarios as well. So use that. I think it's really important. So it was a very positive experience from my point of view. I was, I suppose, a mature student coming back again to do it again, which I thought I might be a little bit intimidated by, but that did not in any way come across at all. It was fantastic. There were lots of people my own age, in the same scenario as well as myself. So very, very positive experience. And the last thing I'll say is that if you have made the decision to do it, just go ahead and do it. Make it happen.
Great. And I suppose then just for asking both of you then just personally and professionally, what did the whole experience do for you?
I think for me personally, I think it kept me in the business, if I'm being honest.
Okay.
I felt I maybe was struggling with the idea at the time, on the basis that we had a family practice, that this was going to be a long-term project, and I may not have had the ability maybe to jump out and go somewhere else. I dabbled in other professions as such. So what I felt the course provided was effectively a train line into the future regarding the survivability of the firm, and secondly, in terms of a sense of satisfaction and feel good, even in the delivery of the advice. The dynamic shift between where we are today versus where we would have been and providing that advice is just it's a genuine, it's night and day. And I feel, post course, and the beauty in a sense as well, and Michael alluded to this fact, is that it doesn't end there. There's a carry on with the link with the FPSB. There's societies like the Society of Financial Planners very heavily involved in bringing CFPs through on the next stage of their journey, keeping that networking piece. Michael touched also upon the fact that we are seeing considerable legislatory changes. And we know that the Pensions Authority have obviously moved in respect of company executive pension schemes in recent weeks. What I would drive, and I think this is a really, really important point, is the achieving the CFP qualification effectively future-proofs your advice and your business. Sometimes it's okay to not do a transaction. It's okay not to carry out a plan. Doesn't mean you can't get paid for it. And I think one of the biggest things that has assisted us in somewhat of a shift away from fees as a result of CP 116 and future changes is the ability to sit down with clients from the outset and say, we are professional advisors. We do charge fees in order to provide the advice. Sometimes that leads to a transaction, other times it doesn't. But irrespective of what happens, we will still be providing our expertise and time, therefore. So as a result, I feel, irrespective of what happens in the background from a legislatory standpoint, I feel we've cocooned ourselves with the qualifications in the office to be fit for purpose for the future. And all we'll need to do is effectively bolt on other little bits as they come along and carry through with that concept on lifelong learning. But I can't stress enough how this effectively future-proofs yourself as an advisor, your business, the firm you work in. It doesn't matter whether it's a larger institution. You've made yourself an invaluable asset. As Michael touched upon, the wealth transfer that's coming through is absolutely enormous. The dynamic shift away from transacting to purely providing financial planning advice is going to be absolutely enormous in the next number of years. So you want to be at the forefront. You want to be a leader of change in this respect. And I feel that I can't speak highly enough for what the course. As I said, would I be here today still operating the business if I hadn't done it? Possibly not. And I now feel much more comfortable mapping out a 20-year journey for myself, having undertaken the course.
Okay, that's really insightful there, Mark. And Michael, same question to you.
Yeah, look, I echo what Mark has just said there. You made really important points there, and I think future-proofing the business is probably the main one. So there's two aspects to this question. So there's the personal and there's the business aspect. And I mentioned earlier on, in 2015, I moved into the business. I moved in from a science background. So my background is actually scientist. I trained as a scientist. So I completely shifted my career focus onto something else, moving into finance and planning, which was a big move. So I invested everything. So it has to work for me as far as I'm concerned. By carrying out the CFP course and sort of taking the learnings from that, our business value proposition has completely changed. We were, very often we were commission based, but we would get paid for plans now. So we're fee for service now, and that's a game changer because we are professional advisors now. We get paid for the advice and the recommendations that we provide through our planning process. and it's as simple as that. And as Mark says, you may not transact future or further business down the line, but that doesn't matter because you get paid for what you provide in terms of the advice, and that's really important. And again, that provided a step change in our business as well, because we weren't doing that before. Very, very important for the growth of the business from that point of view. From a personal point of view, I think being able to sit down and articulate competently the technicalities associated with the individual products or the investment strategy or the individual portfolio or whatever, being able to articulate that in a concise manner as a result of your training is, I can't overestimate how important that is. It's really important, because clients get blinded by information, in particular technical information, very, very quickly, because they're not trained in the field. So being able to articulate that correctly, concisely, in a manner that's, in their language is really important. And again, if you don't have the background of the training provided by the individual modules, you can't competently talk in those terms. And then shifting that holistically across the whole arena through the financial planning service or the process is just mind-blowing for the client. The service that they receive is absolutely, top class. And the testimonials we've received as a result of carrying out those processes, as a result of the course and the education and the CPD, etc., are just phenomenal. And a huge number of our new clients are actually coming from referrals. So people who refer on the business, or refer on others to ourselves as well. So that's testimonial in itself.
But I might just add on that, Michael, if you don't mind, is what you're effectively doing through that service proposition is your clients become advocates of your business and your advice.
Correct.
And they shout it from the rooftops. It's incredible.
Yeah.
You'll find you'll never have to do a piece of marketing again. You don't need to spend big money on IT spends or big marketing budgets, but your clients effectively, because they have never heard this before. And you've essentially now aligned yourself in a partnership with those clients where you become, previously the concept within the financial advice world is your clients are very valuable assets to you. We had that imposter syndrome and never thinking we are the most valuable asset here. And it's an intangible asset, but we can't stress enough the value it has, particularly in the environment we're living in currently. Once you bring clients on that journey, they very quickly tune in. And what you're able to surmise from that is also those who don't, you have the confidence to deliver that if they decide to drift off the pitch, all they're doing is freeing up space for more like-minded individuals who want to come on the journey. It's incredible. And it's great even to hear Michael talking about this, because it almost mirror images our journey as well.
Great.
Well, that's good to hear. Thanks, Mark, for that.
And interesting to hear that it's about that whole relationship development and that life, talking about lifetime learning, you're talking about lifetime relationships with clients as well, and that's all a huge part of the program and the learnings from it. Look, we're out of time, so but just finally, before I hand back to Eva quickly, I just want to ask you very quickly, if there are some people on the call here who are on the fence about whether to start the course or not, what is your advice to them? And I'm going to have to ask you to be very, very brief. Mark, I'll start with you first.
I think, look, it's a cost in your time, and obviously it's a financial cost, but the well-being personally that you're going to get for yourself, your clients, your future in the business is remarkable. I couldn't recommend enough. And if you have any concerns or worries, just reach out. The beauty of this and the beauty of this business and as a profession is everybody is very open to idea sharing, and everybody is open to sharing their trials and tribulations of doing something. So I'm available, guys on my team, Morris is available, Luke, they're all very happy to speak to anybody, because we would be delighted to see more people undertake this course and grow as themselves, because the more people who are CFP qualified means the better advice is going to be delivered to clients, which means the whole financial planning or the financial services industry in Ireland gets a lift as a result.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks, Mark. And Michael, very briefly from you.
Very, very briefly, again, echoing that as well, and I agree totally. The standards come up much higher in the financial services industry if the more people who take on the course. I'd say if you're anyway thinking about it and think you can, you're happy enough with the content and stuff like that, do it. Okay, and if you're working in the industry for the future, you're going to need this more and more. Maybe not on day one, but certainly down the line. I would say absolutely invest in it. And the last thing I'll say is enjoy the experience, because it's good fun as well.
Great. Well, that's great advice, Michael and Mark. Thanks very much. And I'll pass back to you, Eva.
Great, thank you. Thanks to Emer, Mark and Michael for their insights. And I suppose, look, further information about the postgraduate diploma can be found on our website. We also have a brochure there which can be downloaded. And I'm also just going to pull up on screen the contact details of my colleague, Brian Dunphy. So I suppose if you do have any questions, about the programme or would like to discuss it in more detail, Brian would be very happy to kind of go through that with you. Brian is a CFP professional himself, so he's been through the course, and he's a good person to talk to for insights. I am conscious of time, I know we're gone a little bit over. I think I was looking at some of the questions. Most of the questions have been answered by our panelists, which is great. And I suppose if anyone would like any more information about, the lecture schedule, the times, please reach out to us. We are accepting applications now for the September intake, and the deadline for registrations is the 26th of August. So we would encourage people to enroll early. I don't think there's anything else that wasn't covered. Just checking here now. No, I think everything was covered. As I said, if you have any more questions, please reach out to us. So I suppose I just then want to thank again our panelists, and thank you to everyone as well for tuning in this morning. We hope you found it beneficial. We will contact all attendees afterwards with further information about the programme, how to enrol if you wish to do so. We also have a very short survey on completion of this session, so we'd really appreciate your input just to assist us with any future planning of events. But so for today, I just want to say thank you again to everyone for tuning in.